It's good
Welcome to
presentating.
Synapse Philosophy Group. I'm here with Dr. Alan Lecter, and I'm your host, Dr. Haig John. And we've had a little hiatus for a little while, and regrouping, broken legs, and all sorts of things in life. And my son was in football, and we had a great time his first year in 8U football. And those little guys played their hearts out, and they went all the way to the championship. It was awesome. But we're on D.D. Palmer's 1914 book, The Chiropractor. And we've been going through this diligently. If you're just tuning in for the first time, go back and listen to that stuff and watch it. We load this, and I'm a little behind on loading these on the Spotify and Apple, but we'll get there in audio. We have new ones coming out every Monday, which are from our last recordings when we were in. But we're going to keep up with the Mondays and posting these right after, in having the new ones coming out. But we do this live every Tuesday, okay? If that wasn't enough confusion for you, I'll settle it for you, all right? So I'm going to start reading, and I'll hand off to Alan as well, if you don't mind.
I'm always ready.
But I'm going to start off, and I'm really excited to get back in this. We're just taking a couple of pages back, because starting at a brief review from D.D. Palmer of what we've gone through already. And we've gone through some of these where we've read one single line and had a whole day of whole evening of discussion, which has been amazing. So I'm going to start a brief review, page 22. Biology is the science of life. Life is intelligent action, movements guided by intelligence. Life exists because of renitency and elasticity of tissue. These conditions not only permit, but make it possible to receive, but actually create a response to an impulse. Impulses are thoughts in transmission over the nervous system. In telepathy, thoughts are transmitted by the vibrations of ether. In spoken language, they are transferred by the vibrations of the air. I'm going to pause a minute, because he said in telepathy, transmitted through the ether, and without skipping a beat, it wasn't a badoomch. I think this is truly, where we're talking about in spiritualism and this consciousness that D.D. was going through. And this is 1914. He didn't just start thinking of this. He's developed this philosophy. What's your thought on that, Alan, or any part of that?
Well, telepathy, to deal with that question, telepathy is innate speaking to innate. We have the spirit within each of us that's part of a greater source outside of us. And there's energy fields that surround people, and energy can be transmitted, and telepathy is just another level of transmission, that is somewhat more specific when that happens. But we are constantly in transmission with each other, as if, a great example is if you've ever been at a concert. What's it feel like? Does it feel like when you're walking down the street to go to the show? You walk in the door and there's a different sensation in the room. You're in a group that's sharing energy, and you feel the difference right away.
It's electrifying.
There's a telepathic connection that's going on at that point.
My CA and I were talking about this today, and quite often we talk about it because it's also like manifestation, and we're creating that in the universe. Yesterday, she and I were talking about a friend of mine that I've known since high school. Terrible accident, crushed his face, and he said, "Hey, I'm just feeling good enough where I feel like I need you. I was afraid to come." And then I didn't see him. And then I asked, I said, has my friend called or anything like that? And she said, no, I haven't heard from him. Not one single second. I mean, it was literally his car pulled up. As soon as the words came out of my mouth to my CA, he was there coming in, because he popped into my head. I was concerned about him. Hey, we've got Adam Boyd joining us right now.
Excellent.
And hey there, Adam. I'm happy to see you. And then, so my CA, she was talking about something. She had a thought of a family member that she hadn't seen since she was 13 years old. And that same day popped up in a friend request from her. And just amazingness, we put out a vibration. Adam, I'm stoked to see you on here. Thanks for coming. And we have taken a break for a while, and I'm happy to see you on our podcast. And we're on D.D. Palmer's 1914 book, page 23. So, that's the same 22. Thank you, Alan. I'm going to read the next one, okay?
Wait a second. I want to go one more edge on that thought.
Go ahead.
It's that we talked about telepathy, but you're talking about a connection to people. But it also happens if people talk about miracles, and I analogize miracles to synchronicity. That synchronous events are miracle events, if you want to look at them that way. And you'll see things that happen in conjunction, and all of a sudden you go, how did these two things happen? How did I think of this and that happen? What did, those types of things happen all the time. And I'm not coming up with an example off the top of my head now that I'm talking about it. But that synchronicity is a connection through the universe that makes two things happen that are synchronous like that. Those are miracles.
And absolutely. And that's when it's not just timing. We're meant to be in this moment when two actions are happening, seemingly separate. And it just comes together in divine perfection. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Adam, we can see your face again, man. How you been?
You're muted, I think, Adam.
I can't hear you. Unmuted? Something might be going on with your microphone. So how we do this is we read a little bit from DD or BJ. We're in DD now, and then we discuss it. And everybody has an opportunity to discuss things. So
I'm going to go back one line on this. I'm going to go back one line on this where he says impulses are thoughts in transmission over the nervous system. And then he follows that with telepathy. In telepathy, thoughts are transmitted by the vibrations of the ether. So he's connecting those two processes as well. The impulses that are thoughts in the transmission over the nerve system, and telepathy, which are thoughts which are transmitted through vibrations in the ether.
Yep. Impulses are thoughts in transmission over there. Absolutely. I can hear you now, Adam.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
How's life in practice now?
It's going pretty good. Lots of interesting cases, lots of getting people well, and just making sure that the community stays well adjusted. It's a full-time, round-the-clock job.
Well, I'm happy that you're on the job, and so is humanity. We're stoked for you. And then, sitting and getting to listen to a little philosophy and be a part of that. You're part of the 1% of the 1%.
Oh, yeah. It's so lacking in my area. It's been so refreshing. I've been meaning to get on here for a while, and I just decided, you know what? I just need to stop making excuses and hop on, and so here I am.
A few minutes out of your life, and then we advance. And we're talking about, the spiritual nature of chiropractic right now from D.D. Palmer, right? How amazing is that? It's like having him in our own living room, I just posted a picture for this event. I just got these two giant pictures of DD and BJ Palmer. I thought, I'm going to go the biggest that I possibly could. And why not? But this is to honor them. Who cares, right?
Exactly. Those pictures are awesome.
Are they awesome? They are even bigger in person somehow. They're overwhelming. I love it. I don't even want to put them up, carrying them around, We're putting them on the wall. We'll do it next week.
Are those in your Melbourne office?
In my Vieira office.
Okay.
That's the newer office.
I gotta get down and come see those.
12-foot walls, let me tell you. It's not easy to fill it with art. So I figured I'd get those printed. And we got permission from the Palmer Archives. I'm telling everybody that now. We have permission to use those pictures. Paid for. So
good on you. Good on you for doing that.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read the next line. Like I said, we're on page 22. The soul is intelligent life. That's a big one right there already. It is the product of uniting intelligence and material, spirit and body, the result of a combination of the immaterial with the material. Vital makes possible organic functions. The power of motion and feeling. There's a lot in those couple little lines.
There always is.
There always is. I love it. The soul is intelligent life. It is the product of uniting intelligence and material, spirit and body, the result of the combination of immaterial with the material. You know, he's not
the whole
talking
thing.
about, pardon?
It's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing. You got to say it all, right? You know, Pasquale used to talk about that the spirit is different than the soul. Innate is different than spirit. They're all three separate, you know, and I've been working on that in my mind for 20 years or more. Kind of Dee Dee's talking about that right here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He is clearly differentiating them in this paragraph.
Yeah.
And it's
Vital. Because, you know, he didn't use mental impulse. He thought that was silly when BJ used it. And he talked about vital forces. They're much more powerful than the mental impulse. Because the mental impulse, he was saying, that comes from the educated. That's a mental raise your arm, right? The vital forces are running the show, you know, your vital organs and those type of things. And that's what I've seen out of the differentiation. That was mostly out of 1910 book. He talked about more of that stuff. We're going to go back to that soon too. But vital makes possible organic functions, the power of motion and feeling. So what do you think about that?
Well, this is the part that chiropractors rarely get, and almost and even fewer share it with their practice members. And it's difficult to get over the hump of fear of sharing something like this with your practice members, because of, you go, oh, it's too weird. They're not gonna want to come back if I talk about this stuff. But it's amazing when you find the ways to share it. It enhances their desire to be back in the office.
You know, most of the population on Earth believes in some level of higher power. Not everybody. And you know, one of the vendors, she's coming to our event, and I just told her about, she watched one of the podcasts we just did. I think it was one with Jim Chester or something on Chiro Hustle. It was a great one. And she said, you know, I never knew anything about the spirituality of chiropractic. I've never thought about that before. You know, I go to another chiropractor, but I think I'm going to bring my daughter and my family to you, because, and I said, you know, I don't want to take away from another chiropractor, but she said, I'd much rather be with somebody that's spiritually inclined and based in, you know, in my beliefs. And I thought, you know, that's a good reason to find somebody that you align with, your tone, your vibration, the impulses, the innate to innate. You know, you have a higher chance of a greater connection, right? It's just like, for me, you know, I think of like a high gauge wire compared to like a cheap flimsy wire. You know, when you're wiring your house, use the proper gauge for wiring. And that's wiring we can't see. That's innate to innate, spirit to spirit, that grand connection, right? There's something extra maybe, right?
And
that's something.
You know, we so many fear the connection to the spiritual concept, but in reality, the core, the first premise, the major premise, is that there's a universal intelligence. Period. The end.
Here at the end.
That's the beginning. That's the beginning and end of the whole thing right there. There is a spirit. There's a universal intelligence. And I'm religious in my own way, and I wear the robe of Judaism because that's the one that fits me and I was brought up in. But for me, I don't think about God. It took me time to work through the prejudices involved with the word God, and that when most people think about it as a guy on a throne. Well, that minimizes in so many ways. And universal intelligence is a much bigger concept for me, and that's my core whenever I'm thinking about God, is in terms of a universal intelligence, and that plays with all this that we're talking about here.
Yeah. Jake, it's great to have you. Jacob, I'm stoked to see you. And, we're on page 22 of D.D. Palmer's 1914 book, The Chiropractor. And, Alan, just going back onto that is, we talk about this before, but every time we step up to that table, it's an altar. We're serving God within each and every single one of these people we touch. And to honor them at that level, right? It's, I can't think of a grander purpose on earth, really, while we're in this earthly body with this spiritual life in this meat bag, right, that we live in, is to step up to that altar and serve those people. And, no matter what their belief system, it doesn't really matter at all. It's where we're coming from and what level we're serving. And, many years ago, I realized I'm not in practice anymore. I'm in service. And, and there was a time where I said, you know what, I'm still improving. I'm still doing better. I'm still practicing even my adjustments. And, but there was a time where I just said, I'm in service now. And, I feel enlightened myself once I gave up those type of things. Not that I'm an enlightened being, I feel lighter on earth when I let go of the responsibility of trying to fix people and, or trying to get someone out of a condition, which I try not to do. I mean, even in beginning in practice, it's an effort not to do it. You have to realize, we all realize that, right? Because people have, this and this and fix me. Well, I can't fix you, but I can help your body heal itself. And that should be empowering, right? That's empowering to that person. You have the magic that made you. Can you even fathom that, from 2 half cells? And you have this beautiful being that you are, right? No matter your shape, size, color, doesn't matter. It's amazing. Should we move on a little bit? Let me read the next line. All right.
Good.
The amount of tension depends on the relative position of the osseous frame, the neuroskeleton, the skeleton of the vertebrae. So I still like the nerve tension model, and I think it's gone back to that where DD was much more correct in nerve tension than it is pinch nerve, that type of thing. And that's been proven.
He doesn't talk about pinching. He talks about impingement and not pinching. He's very clear about that.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Health is a condition wherein all the functions are performed with a normal amount of force. Now, that's way better than the WHO's definition of health. I really need to write that one. I gotta mark with I'm back with my kids' crayons here still, but that's a good one. I mean, health is a condition wherein all the functions are performed within a normal amount of force. It doesn't take anything extra for my systems to digest food. It doesn't take anything extra. Everything's working as it should. That's what health is. Disease is an existence in which the action of an organ or organs are improperly performed. That makes perfect sense. Death is a situation where an action has ceased to be controlled by intelligence. And that's when we're being reclaimed into Mother Earth, recycled, and turned into good old worm food, right?
Oh, but what he says there is that the intelligence is gone at that point.
Intelligence is gone.
The innate intelligence, the adapting intelligence is gone. The universal intelligence is still present, maintaining form, at least for the time being.
Yes, exactly. Really good point. Thanks for bringing that up, Alan. Absolutely. Anything else on that? Anybody? And everybody has, if you want to say something, nobody's right or wrong. Okay. And I want everybody to feel safe in asking questions. People watch this all over the world, Europe, and people send questions later on. I'm so happy to have this back. So they're going to be excited too. The state of
Haig and I don't have a monopoly on speaking here. You guys feel free to join in. We have no prejudice about what people say. We're happy to discuss all this with anybody that has something to say.
Exactly right. Okay. So just butt in, or some people do their hand raised on there or whatever. The state of disillusion or the act of a rolling stone is not that of intelligence. Okay. So I guess he's really talking, bringing back that, in death, really, we're not much more than a rolling stone, right? And an inanimate object in a way, and not an intelligence.
Dissolution, yeah, it's like a rolling stone. It's like rolling down a hill. There's no power within has any control over that. It's just rolling. Yeah,
that's right. There's
no dissolution of the body once death happens is just something else.
Yeah, it's part of the
reclamation.
Yeah, it's reclamation. Spirit has moved on. That energy can go into growing plants and farting cows and all that stuff. Okay. Inflammation is a condition in which some local portion exhibits a higher temperature than any other, including the blood. Do not forget, in order to disturb functions, there must be an inordinate nerve tension. Also, a change in heat production. Fever is a state in which the whole body is above normal in its temperature. Fever is diffused. Diffused inflammation. Excuse me, that's a short sentence. Fever is a diffused inflammation. Inflammation is associated with corns, the heat of which may be diffused. If so, the patient has fever. I know he's big on the corns. I bet he had a lot of people coming in with their feet because he talks about them a lot. But you help somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I adjust extremities when needed, and it comes out to be about 10%, just like Dee Dee said in 1910 book. And you have somebody with a really, that joint's displaced for a long time, and adjusting it nicely. And, I've seen that change with people quite a bit. Should we move on?
Yep.
The neuroskeleton, when in normal position, is a protector of the nervous system, but a nerve disturber when not properly placed. That's another mark right there. I'm copying that one. The neuroskeleton, it's the protector, right? It dissipates energy if you get hit in the back, all those different things. It's a protector, but it's also a disruptor when not properly placed, when it's subluxated. And if you notice, he doesn't say subluxation very often. He never has. Pressure, there are three, and that's all caps. There are three kinds of pressure: impingement, pinch, and stricture. Two forms of injury: collusion and
contusion.
Contusion? Is that what that says? Because mine's must be a
Contusion.
typo, because mine's an L. C-O-L. But it doesn't look right.
No, it's contusion and concussion.
Yeah, that's funny. Mine's a typo.
Huh.
Each are lesions. Anybody have any part of that?
But that's what we said a minute ago.
Okay.
He's differentiating impingement, pinch, and stricture.
All right. To impinge, does somebody have something? I thought somebody said something. To impinge is to press on one side. Impinging and impinge.
You skipped the paragraph there.
Where'd I go?
Pressure of any portion of the nerve system.
Go ahead and read. Do you mind? Go ahead and read, Alan.
Pressure on any portion of the nerve system, the encephalon, spinal cord, the ganglionic chains, ganglia, or nerves, increases or impairs its carrying capacity of impulses, motor or sensory, causing too much or not enough functioning. Heat is one of those functions. We good?
It's byproduct, right? Yeah, keep going.
To impinge is to press on one side. Impinging and impinge are verbs. They denote action, something to be done, are always followed by on, upon, or against. A nerve may be impinged on, upon, or against. Impingement is a noun, denotes the act or condition of being impinged on, upon, or against.
Keep pinching. Yeah.
Pinching or squeezing is an act done by pressure on two sides, a material placed between two harder substances. So there he's going through what he's defining there is the pressure, the to impinge and pinching, the three types of pressure that can happen to nerves.
Right. To give everyone an idea, this is called the brief review of everything we've read. And I would say reading 1914 book is good. And, you know, to sum this up, he's doing a pretty good job of this, but it's summing up everything we've read up to this point, which is good. All right, let's read the next one.
So I have a question in the middle of this because he talks about pages 146 and 147. Is that referring back to 1910? Or what other book is that referring to? Do you know?
I would venture so. I have it right here.
All right, I'll start to read in the meantime.
Go ahead.
Spinal adjustment displays two cuts on pages 146 and 147. The former is designed to, quote, show the normal condition of the vertebral discs, unquote. In anatomy, a disc is a circular organ or body which is plate-like. The epiphyseal plates of bone are situated on the upper and under surfaces of the body of the vertebra, and the intervertebral fiber cartilage are known as discs because they are like a plate, flat and round. The cut on page 147 is, quote, showing compressed intervertebral discs and an impinged nerve from narrowing of the foramina. The term foramina should be foramen, as nerve is referred to in the singular number. So he's criticizing that text that he's talking about here.
Yeah, he's bringing it's not from 1910. I just looked. That's about osteopathy, and he's talking about some other things.
Yeah, but, so I'm not sure what he's referring to there, but the material's still good. To compress is to press or squeeze together, to reduce in volume by pressure to make more compact. The intervertebral cartilage is a connective tissue, non-vascular, contains no nerves. It is surrounded by the fibrovascular membrane in which blood vessels and nerves are freely distributed, by which it receives nutrition. It contains a fibrous element, its base being of chondrin, a viscous jelly-like substance, which may be separated from the fibrous portion by boiling. Once you've taken it out of the patient, I hope.
I would hope.
Never mind. In the living subject, it may be destroyed, necrosed by excessive heat. Inflammation of the surrounding membrane liquefies, liberates gelatin, and very often destroys the fibrous portion. Its size is not and cannot be reduced by compression as shown in the cut. A displaced vertebra, one whose articular surfaces are separated, enlarges the foramina, therefore does not occlude the opening, does not pinch, compress, or squeeze the outgoing nerves as they pass through the intervertebral foramina. The spinal nerves and their branches may be impinged upon or against, or stretched because of displaced vertebra, but not pinched. I'm thinking that the illustration he's talking about may be what became very popular as the pinched nerve image that's so often used in chiropractic.
It's very likely. I think you're really on target with that. I wish we knew where that was. Maybe we'll post it on the history page and see who knows where that's coming from. But it's definitely an anatomy book or something. I don't know if it's anything that he wrote though.
Maybe I'll send a text to Simon Senzon and ask him.
Yeah, ask him. I'm really curious about that, where it's coming from.
Let me make a note.
Okay.
Page 146, 147. That'll remind me. All right. Impinged nerves from quote, impinged nerves from narrowing of the foramina, unquote. The author here refers to nerves being pinched, not impinged. So I think he's referring to something by BJ here, because he would argue with his son. And I think that's what this all is. Constriction.
I agree.
Constriction is the condition of being narrowed by a binding force applied around a tubular orifice. A morbid contraction of the passageway, any hollow tube of the body. Constriction and stricture mean one and the same. Illustrate stricture on a board, contracture of a nerve tissue, inflammation of because of increased combustion of oxygen. Compression is to press together, to make more compact, to reduce in volume, to make narrower in one direction. A concussion is the shaking or jarring or an agitation or a shock caused by a collision. So he's gone back to defining things he talked about on the previous page here.
And
the real direct, sorry?
Well, I just want to say, now at the end of that small paragraph, but how important our words are. And he's being very specific.
Yes.
And the chiropractor's adjuster is exactly about that. And that's what I'm feeling here is that, he's, and very likely it is BJ he's talking about. And, setting it straight, use the proper terms, speak correctly about what you're talking about, because it doesn't make sense when, if you're explaining it to somebody. Use your words properly. And I think chiropractic, we've lost so much of that, of just trying to fit in, or I have people, students all the time saying, well, it doesn't really matter, manipulation or adjustment, whatever. It matters. And they're two entirely different words. So, being precise and correct with our vocabulary is important. All right. That was my 4.5 cents. I'm done.
The real and direct cause of disease is more or less nerve tension than normal. More or less nerve tension than normal is the key in that sense.
Exactly.
It can be too much or too little. It's like a cash register when you're in the old days, when you had to count the cash at the end of the day. Too much or too little, it's wrong either way.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody made a mistake. You can tell how old I am, and I ran a store a long time ago, and you had to count that register every night.
Hey, I teach my kids how to count change. Make sure you're getting the right change back, how to count it, give them the right change, or how much you're expecting back. It's important stuff.
The real and direct, displaced bones because of their pressure against or non-resistance of nerves or that of stretching can cause extra or lessened amount of tension. An abnormal performance of function of the body is denominated disease. Sorry, that means it's called disease. So the abnormal performance of function of the body is denominated disease. The kind depends upon the tissue affected and the function disturbed. The subtle and nicely discriminated transmission of physiological impulses is health. Whether the cells, the elementary structure of which organic substances are formed, individual organs, or the body as an organism is directed by an intelligence known as spirit.
Perfect. That's another good paragraph right there.
So he's going back.
Doesn't say innate, you notice.
No, he's gone back and reiterating again, the abnormal performance of function of the body is denominated as disease. It's the abnormal performance that is what the disease is, and the subtle and nicely discriminating transmission of physiological impulses in health is directed by the intelligence known as spirit. So when it's working right, it's being directed by spirit, and that's health. There's no interference. There's no change in what's supposed to be being transmitted. Should I go on?
Yeah, keep going. Let's do this whole paragraph, the whole thing, and then we've done with this chapter.
Well, it gets hevier as we go here again.
I know, that's what I'm getting excited about. Once you start talking about spirit and all those, it's just going to get deeper now. I love it.
It's not going to focus because I've got it on blur.
See it.
But you can see my page is partly white, and then all of a sudden, ooh, it's all pink. All right. So the next paragraph starts. Sensory are those nerve fibers which carry sensory impulses from the exterior inward to the nerve center, resulting in sensation. Sensation is the recognizance of nerve vibration. Sensory nerve centers is where nerve vibration is identified. A sensory nerve is an afferent nerve, one which transfers peripheral impressions to the sensoria, sense centers. Sensory ganglia are those masses of nervous substance which are thought to serve as a center of nervous influence. The most prominent of the sensory nerves are those of the olfactory, optic, auditory, gustatory, tactile, and thermal. To these should be added that of synesthesia, conscious existence, painful or pleasurable, depression or exaltation, the general sense of bodily or self-existence, the subconscious sensation by the functioning of the internal organs. Sensory impressions are the effects of external agents or bodies upon the organs of sense. These external agents or bodies are always the same. Impulses are always perfect. If the nervous system is in a normal condition, the impressions, afferent impulses, cannot be otherwise than normal. You want to pause there?
Well, what's he talking about? What's he getting into at this point, really? He's talking about senses. There's more than the five senses. I always talk about the sense of community and the sense of love and the sense of family. He's talking about the sense of self-existence, a bodily, of the sense of your body, the subconscious sensation by the functioning of internal organs. There's the next paragraph really ties it together, actually.
It's interesting to think about this for a second. I've been doing a meditation training recently, and one of the things they talked about was when you hear something, what's hearing? What is it? Where is it? Where are you hearing it? Where's the thought that you just had in your brain? Where is that thought?
Yeah.
It's ethereal.
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And it's interesting to think about it that way. And then thinking about what he's saying here, and for me, it all comes together. This is applying to the same thing.
B.J. Palmer in volume 33, which is Fame and Fortune. We've done that review in here. That's one of our first ones. And one thing, that's what he talks about. Where are your thoughts? Where does your memory come from? Is it here? And we talk about the Akashic record, but is it stored in these little cells somewhere up here, or is it bigger than that? And that's BJ talked about that. That was like early 1950 or something like that.
I think so.
So
here he's saying that the information that comes in.
Adam, did you have something?
I was just kind of tying into the point that you just made there, Haig. I feel like it's part of the bigger picture and part of the bigger idea with it, because in that sense, then the body should be able to think after the spirit has moved on. I feel like the gift of the thought and the connection back to being able to think and go through all that is part of that innate intelligence, the vital intelligence, the bigness of it, because without that, we wouldn't just melt back into the clay.
Yeah. It's the glue. It really holding us all together, animating the system. It's the amazing part of us, right? The rest is just cells and organs and tissue. Yeah, good point. Thank you, Adam. Very, very good point. Alan, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just heard Adam, and I want to give
No, that was good. And I was just going to reiterate the last part that says, the external information. He's talking about the afferent nerve system here, and he's saying that the external information that comes in is always perfect for whatever it is, unless there's something that happens once you've received it and it isn't transmitted properly for your body to process.
This is, we have this big seminar, Families First Revolution, Save the Babies. We're doing this whole thing. And, my talk is going to be spiritual chiropractic. It's going to be about birthing, but it's going to be about spiritual chiropractic. And basically, I'm like quoting this chapter. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to put that in. Adam, you've heard in the workshops we talk about the spirituality of chiropractic. I'm quoting B.D. Palmer most of the time, and the world needs to hear this stuff. This is what we were really here to do, but we've dumbed it down in a way because we're afraid to talk about the spiritual nature of chiropractic. And here, all spiritual impulses. This is like 2 paragraphs down. Those of which cause intelligence, organic action in life are perfect when originated, as much so as their creator. The thoughts are perfect, the impulses are perfect. We're trying to make it imperfect because I think people are afraid to be well. You're afraid to go around, hey man, I feel great, where everybody's feeling terrible. And I've seen people like, I just don't really, I feel bad. I feel so good. I've had people actually tell me that. I'm like, all right, that's up to you. But if the more you're feeling great, the more you shed that to everybody else and they start feeling great. So start, feel great.
Share the good stuff.
You're allowed to. Go ahead.
All righty. So we're, let's see. We have the spiritual and physical impulses, those from the creator and the mind. All efferent impulses are motor. All motor impulses, whether of the spirit or of the mind, are normal, providing the nerves of the transmission are of normal tension. All thoughts, orders, commands, directions of the mind, known as impulses, are normal if voluntary. The lines of communication are normal. All thoughts, orders, commands, directions of the spirit, a segment of the universal intelligence, contains in miniature all intelligence and qualities of the all-wise spirit, just as one drop of the ocean contains the qualities of all the qualities of the briny deep. Which this refers to something we said before. I have a big exclamation point on this one too, just like you've been talking about market stuff down. But this is what we were talking about before, that the universal intelligence is within us. A piece of it is within us, and there is an all-knowing intelligence if we allow it to express itself. The spirit within us is, if we allow it to be expressed properly and maintain a proper, and what we do is try to contribute to the nerve system functioning the best it can by trying to find where there may be interference with transmission and applying some force that innate can use to adapt and allow a healing process to take place.
What popped into my mind, since you spoke a little religion a little while ago, is the book of Genesis and the first few pages. Know now that you are God or godlike, they say little g. That's what he's saying here, right?
Yeah.
All thoughts, orders, commands, directions of the spirit, a segment of the universal intelligence, contains in miniature all intelligence and qualities of the all-wise spirit. That's powerful stuff. I really feel the world out there doesn't want the people to feel that powerful. And you're not omnipotent, but you have that omnipotence within. I'm limited by the material body, but we're pieces of we are a segment of the universal intelligence containing in miniature all intelligent qualities of the all-wise spirit. I love that.
Yeah, and when you get that to go to a different space here than bodily, is that war is just an anathema, because of if we all are part, if the spirit of the universal intelligence is in each of us, we are all totally brothers and sisters under the skin. We're all one person, even more.
Oh yeah.
We are all expressions of one source.
Yeah.
And so what are we fighting about?
Yeah.
Why do we have divisions? Why is one person think they're better than another? There's no value in that, and it's this tells me that that's all wrong. And in the core of all religions, it says that is not true.
You know, well, getting into that a moment, it's really, to me, it's the other
Sorry
side.
to go off.
No, well,
That's a
it's the other
tangent, but
side trying to keep us unbalanced.
yeah.
Because if everyone saw the world with their real eyes, then there would be no use for any of that, right? There'd be no use for it at all. But
If we
now,
all cooperated, all that money that was going to the military would go into sources to make people healthier and better.
well, you know, Eisenhower warned us about an economy on the, based on the industrialized war complex. But Sisyphus, going back to chiropractic, Sisyphus, one thing he instilled in us very early is that entire world outside is fictitious. When you're focused and you're present with your people, you're at that altar serving them, adjusting them and helping them change their life from above down and the inside out. That's where the real world actually is. All that stuff is fictitious out there to take us on. But I can't change any of it. I don't care what it is. I can't go over there. If I had one machine gun, I'd be dead in a minute. You know what I mean? That my one self is not going to change it. I can't complain it out of the ether. I can't change those things. But what I can do is change my attitude from within, and I can serve and be my best. And that, I know, is serving our higher power by serving his people and being the best that Haig can be. I can't tell Adam who to be. Can't tell Alan or Jake, anybody. It's from within.
And as you express that pure intelligence within and allow to express it to come out through you, everyone you influence is influenced by that and moved a little bit in that direction towards a greater peace.
I keep mentioning
that's part of my vision every time I put my hands on people and everybody I meet in walking down the street. It says I'm sharing with everybody as I'm walking down the street as much as I can that calm peace extension out surrounding me and trying to reach everybody.
You can say I love you without having to say it. I'm human. I'm meeting you human to human, and here I am. And being authentic. Even when people say, "Oh, you fixed me," and I'm like, listen, I'm not a veterinarian. I can't fix you, all right? But I'm not going there. But that is and BJ and Dee said, once you start thinking in that way, everything falls apart. You're not doing the adjusting even. You might offer the influence, but innate is doing the job. And when we get so caught up in our technique, that's why what I say is what we're doing is, an approach in innate adjusting. The technique, we get so caught up as this is better than that. We're influencing the bone. Innate knows where it's meant to go. And it'll be in the right time, in the right moment. Symptoms and pain will go away in the right time, in the right moment, not a minute before. So yeah, thanks for that. Let's finish this last bit up. It's almost time, okay?
The spiritual impulses, those which cause intelligent organic action, life, are perfect when originated. As much as their creator, as much as their creator, as manifested in the newborn babe, which has not been injured, whose impulses are carried over nerves of normal tension. But if the tension frame is displaced, luxated over ever so little, nerves stretched, vibration modified, innervation increased or decreased, we have conditions known as disease. The body, when diseased, manifests no new functions, develops no new forms of energy, adds no new space or accommodation. While the larger share of diseases, abnormal functioning, are because of trauma, toxins, and autosuggestion, there are minor causes such as inhalation of gas, smoke, or flame, lack of food, air, or water, decompression of the atmosphere in tunnels or caissons, and excess or a deficiency of heat, local exposure to the extremes of heat or cold, which induces necrosis, and exposure to X-rays may lead to caries. So I had two notes here. One was, I say later that that was changed from people now say, because it alliterates and makes it sound cooler, toxins, trauma, toxins, and thoughts instead of autosuggestion. But autosuggestion, I think, is a little different from general thoughts. But
I'm going to say this, he ranted and raved about, was it Carver, for 200 plus pages in 1910 because of, what's it called? The autosuggestion. I forgot the name of that technique, but that's what Dede was talking about within those first 200 pages of 1910. And then in X-ray leading to caries, he was not a fan of X-ray or BJ using X-rays. There was a big controversy about that in those days too.
It's interesting because he causes a lot of the physical things he listens here are as minor causes of, but what they are things that are that get beyond, if you will, innate's ability to adapt, limitations of matter, limitations of time, which is what was written, 20 years later after this.
Yeah. Concept therapy was what I was thinking about before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So anything else in this? You were going to say something, Alan?
No, I don't think so.
We went through a lot. There's a lot in this. I'd say go back at it. It's like the 56th time I've read this, and I love it. And we're still underlining new things. But we're back in action. We're getting back to our Wednesday nights. We're going to do these. We have people from all over the world join
Tuesday nights, right?
Tuesday night. Did I say Wednesday? See, I'm off track. We're going to be back on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. And then, and we discuss it. Everybody has an opportunity to speak if you'd like. And, this is all about gaining more understanding and wisdom. Well, so good being back. I'm so glad to see some, Jacob, I didn't see your face, but I'm so happy you're here. And same thing with Adam. So we're coming back next week. Okay. We're going to start on page 26, inflammation, which is a very good section. And there's not much of this book, so we want to get through it. Anybody have any closing thoughts?
I'm so glad we're back. I so enjoyed discussing this with you and everybody that gets on these calls. I hope that Barry and the Crystals get back with us in the next couple of weeks. Next week is Thanksgiving week, so we'll find out who can make it and who can't. But this is so much fun. I really enjoy it, and I hope other people will join in. And everybody, Adam, please feel free to speak up, my brother.
I will more. I don't have a copy in front of me, so I was really trying to listen and process it mostly.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard if you haven't had a chance to look or read it, because it is deep stuff.
Send me an email. I have it in PDF. Okay. Or you can find it. It's a public archive. Like, you can download this book. It's old enough, and it's a free public download. I used that for years. And there you go. You can get that one right off of eBay or wherever,
Okay.
But the
1914
book is a powerful book by Dede Palmer. Okay.
It's a little tiny thing.
It's a tiny book, but it's meaty. So I just have to have a shameless plug for my seminar this weekend. Is Families First Revolution, Save the Babies. We've got Dr. Brian Hooker, who wrote Vaxxed or Unvaxxed with Robert F. Kennedy. And we have Zen Honeycutt, who's Moms Across America. I mean, she's just an amazing powerhouse, and it's going to be amazing. And I'm adjusting all the sick babies in the evening. If there are children that are ill and you're around, bring them in. And vaccine wounded children, we're going to be adjusting them at no cost. And the vaccine bus, this Children's Health Defense bus is coming, a big Greyhound, vaxxed or unvaxxed on the side, and right in my town on A1A at the beach. which is going to be super cool. I just had my my spine truck redone, repainted. I can't wait to take a picture of it in front of that bus. So God bless you guys. I'm excited. And like always, anybody has any questions, just send me an email, haigjohndc@gmail.com. Or you could text it 772-713-1487. And I love and appreciate you all. Good night.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye,
Thanks,
Haig. We'll
Haig.
see you next week.
Bye-bye.